I just started reading the spec for Quest 4, and I saw that it's basically a two binary search trees, and the only difference is the delete, right? Um,
Yeah.
so I was thinking the lazy delete would be good because it isn't efficient with the memory usage, but it's more efficient as in like speed. True, or I'm not sure like why we wouldn't delete it in the beginning.
But you said the only difference was with the leaves. You mean leaf node or delete?
The delete, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess it's because if we were to do like a deletion, sometimes we want it to like, be very fast. We don't want it we want an instant um response as opposed to like waiting it to recursively delete all the stuff. So that's why we use the mark of deletion instead of just physically deleting the nodes.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anybody have questions? I just finished Quest 4 yesterday, so that's why I don't really have any questions. That too. I haven't even read Quest 5 yet.
Is there anyone that's almost finished with all the quests? I know that Chris is almost finished, but he's not here. So if you're almost finished with the quest, I create the extra credit project. I created a repository using GitLab. So if you're familiar with GitHub, I use GitLab because we want to like work on this project together and we need an organization for that to manage like permission to avoid the code getting messed up. And I didn't use GitHub because the GitHub organization is uh, you have to pay for it. So I use GitLab and then our um our org name is CS2C, which is pretty simple. So if you're interested, I'm gonna post this as a in on Reddit later, so that if you're interested, you can join and then start working on the project together.
Did you already finish all the quests?
Did you say anything? Sorry, it wasn't like it wasn't clear.
I was just asking if you already finished all the quests.
Yeah, I finished it.
Oh, nice.
I have a general question. Is everyone here done with quest 3? I just want to talk about it in a way that's like, I don't
Yeah.
want to spoil it for anybody. Okay, cool. I guess what type of stuff did you guys optimize in terms of like, and what felt most effective to you? I'm done, by the way, just for reference. I was just curious.
Was that like the sparse metric stuff?
Yeah, sparse metric multiply.
I mean, I think one was using add to cell. Then others just like saving, not doing function calls and just save stuff in variables. Probably save like a tiny bit of time, like you saving an iterator in a variable and not calling it every time for a loop end.
Yeah, for me at first, I didn't realize why add to cell was useful. I just tried calling push back and doing it in a different way. And then I realized there's a really nice way using add to cell. And I also limited the function calls and anything that's repeated. I tried saving it in a variable.
Yeah, I also removed all the, like, I tried to remove some return statements and for loops and change them with breaks. And for some reason that helped. Just kind
Yeah, I
of
saw
weird.
that post. Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why that's the case.
I also found it weird. Instead of using auto, I used const auto, and I think that also helped. I feel like it's good practice because it stops it from changing whatever it's iterating on. But I'm not sure if that actually helped. I might just be, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if this actually led to an improvement over an alternative, but I flipped one of the matrices so that you wouldn't have to go through and find the corresponding column, so that you can just go over to the next node in the list for this express matrix multiplication. That ended up saving me some time. I don't know if that's the fastest way though.
How did you go about that in a way that's like performant?
What do you mean? The flipping, the initial that part?
Yeah.
Well, it's that ends up being an O of n function, just because of you don't need to go through every single bit, right? You only need to go through the ones you have, and that's only a matter of reassigning, so creating a new sparse matrix and then going through every column or every single row, and then just adding it into the column of the first row, and then going down one. I don't know how to explain it very well, but you're essentially all you're doing is flipping the rows and columns, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. But then
Yeah,
you still
were
have
you
to
able to-
evaluate, right? Like at some point you have to look at your second matrix, and then so it's like double
Yeah.
time.
Well, it ends up. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm not sure if it's specifically that's the faster version, but it works out faster for me.
On quest 2 or quest 3, when I was like running my code, the error I was getting was it was saying that I was taking too long to like square the matrix. And so like I didn't pass that test. And I don't really know because I think it's like an efficiency thing, right? Like that my code isn't doing it properly, but I don't really know how to like make it cleaner because it seemed pretty good to me. But yeah, I was wondering.
Is this quest 2 or 3?
Quest 3, I think. The matrix algorithms one.
Is it for the matrix algorithm or for the sparse matrix one?
For the sparse matrix, I think.
We somewhat talked about it, I guess, but if other
I
people have
maybe
tips,
wasn't there for that part.
yeah. I mean, like writing it out is really helppful. There's like something you can like look for once you kind of write it out and like make sure that you can understand like where things go. That's helpful.
Okay.
Um,
How large was the matrix?
Hmm?
How large was the matrix?
Let me find what it said. It was like, what did it say? It was 2,587 by 2,587. Yeah, like really big.
My
It-
biggest hint when I was when I couldn't get past it, I really thought mine was efficient and I was stuck for a while. I just completely commented out my code and tried thinking of a different approach.
mm,
At first, I was running on the like solution matrix and putting in every spot. And if you're doing that, I recommend comment out your code and try doing it in a different way.
okay.
Because there should be, if you write it down on paper, and you do enough, you should be able to find the pattern. There's a pattern that works without running on the solution matrix.
Okay, I'll try that. Yeah. I think because I tried to like do the quest like really fast like yesterday. So that's probably why like I didn't think through it too much. So yeah, I'll do that. Thank you.
How are you doing it currently? Are you just Right.
Just mental,
you're just like
straight
iterating?
up.
You're like every
Yeah,
single-
I'm iterating through. Yeah.
I see. So you're like repeating like a lot of the iterations then.
I think so. Yeah, that's definitely why. I just need to like have it written out, and I think then I'll be able to figure out the patterns. It'll be good.
I'm actually sort of on that one too, and I did what Jonathan said, and I fixed it and got a different one going, and I got a better pattern, and at least it's like looking at it now, but it's still slow. And it's probably coming down to like little itsy bitsy things, but
I mean, I would say
gonna
if you're like
fix it.
up against like just you can't pass it, like look at your other functions too and see if you can make them more efficient as well. Because like if you're
That's what I
calling,
was wondering about.
yeah, like if it's little things that add up, but ultimately I think if you have like a really efficient algorithm, it shouldn't matter. But
Uh,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I also went back to like functions in the sparse matrix, the set and get that are used in add to cell. I made sure to like add like if it's empty, you can just go ahead and skip all the iterations or whatever you're doing.
yeah.
Yeah, and if you're empty rows and columns, you shouldn't iterate over those. So that should save you time.
Okay. I'll give that a shot.
And use dot empty, not dot size, because dot empty is apparently like faster than dot size for vector sizing.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
So for the iteration part, you just want to see like if there's any unnecessary iterations, and you can like find a pattern of um how it's gonna happen, and then try to figure out like a way to identify those cells, and then just skip all of them.
That's actually one of the things that I was wondering about. Actually, I don't know if that's saying too much. That might be saying too much. I'm not going to say that. Never mind. Sorry.
John, where did you hear about this like empty being faster than size? Because it seems like I was just Googling
Just like
briefly.
something. I don't know.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
like I think dot empty just returns a bool while dot size. If you have to compare it to equal 0, it actually like counts with the whole size. So I don't know if that's like a stored something the vector stores as like a constant or something, but I don't know. I think it helped me or it helps my time when I was doing it.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Actually, on time things, then, if you guys know, is it quicker to have it make a variable that holds something small, use it to hold that something small, get rid of it, then come back in on the next loop, create it again? Or is it faster to have it create one at the top when it's in the loop, rewrite it, let it go through, use it, then once it goes back in the loop, rewrite it again? Is it quicker to do that, or just have it like make it every time?
Definitely faster to keep the variable and then modify it over iterations because the initialization of a variable itself requires some like memory allocation, and that part is gonna the your program has to like try to find the place for it to allocate that particular memory, and that's gonna take some time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I might do that then. I might start taking all the ones that I can and moving them up to a spot where they all get like made once and then they get changed later.
Yeah, that
Thank
makes
you.
sense.
One question. Do you know if doing a for each with the auto is faster than doing maybe a for?
I was actually wondering about that too. Yeah.
With auto and with what?
Yeah, you do for each and then the auto in the A dot rows, for example. I shouldn't be saying too much, but yeah.
You mean to specify the type and to not specify the type and just use auto?
No, I mean, so instead of doing a for loop, like the typical iteration is iterator is you start with you start at the start point of an array, and the other option is doing a for each with auto. So which one would be faster?
Yeah, I have the same question.
If you utilize the ampersand notation, the for each loop can be faster. But if you didn't utilize the ampersand notation, it's essentially the same. It's just that the for each loop is easier for you to maintain because you don't have to like see like which index is which one.
I see. Thank you.
Because when you utilize the ampersand, it avoids like copying the variable to a new variable, and that itself is gonna save you some time.
So just a big like general question. If the area that the quest thing stops you on is like it got up to said matrix that's like 2500 by 2500 or something, versus it got stopped at 2100 by 2100, the 2500 one means that you got farther with that one, right? That one was quicker and as such dealt with bigger matrices.
If they're bigger, that means you got further. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So how have you guys been preparing for the midterm?
I forgot we have a midterm, but I think isn't the best strategy to like read the modules, right?
Yeah, I've just been
Because
reading the modules. Because they also help with the quests, especially quest 4.
yeah, oh okay. So true.
I'm using it to test on stuff that is not in the quest, like ABL trees and stuff.
Probably.
I see.
Yeah, I don't know how else to prepare for it other than the modules, because like he says too, right, that the stuff on the midterm and final isn't stuff you do on quests. So yeah, that's the strategy, I guess.
All right, it's 5:30, so I have to go now.
Goodbye.
Later.
Bye.
I was like Googling it again. I think size and empty are like the same.
That's what I thought, because it said it compiles in like constant time or whatever based on things.
Yeah. But I think it's still better to use empty, just like for style, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. The readability.
Yeah, I don't know where. I thought I saw it somewhere on Stack Overflow or something. Is anyone know we're normally supposed to use like the arrow notation to dereference the iterator? Because I feel like I remember seeing somewhere in the modules that it's better to use the star / dot, because sometimes they don't like do it as a pointer exactly.
I've been using the arrow.
Okay.
I have too, yeah. I haven't seen any other stuff on that. Could be though.
Yeah, I think that's mostly fine. I just remember, I don't know if I saw it in modules, but like sometimes they define the iterator as like not a pointer exactly or something. So like you can't directly use the arrow, but I think most of the STL stuff defines it as a pointer.
There's like a bunch of different kinds of Words. Iterators. There we go. There's a lot of different ones too, right? So some of them act as pointers and some of them aren't.
Yeah. I think sometimes it
The-
just like depends on how they define the iterator to be like.
For that actual class. Yeah, that is a good point too.
I'm pretty sure just like all the STL uses defines it, so you can use it.
the iterators are just trying to mimic the how the pointers behave.
Yeah.
So for like the syntax and stuff, but it's technically not the pointer. But we can just treat them as pointers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who here has gone through kangaroo already? Which is 6.
Me.
You.
Me.
Did you guys get a point for your find method? Do you remember?
Let me check.
I got one for contains and not for find, and I think I'm one to be short.
Is that a hash
The hash table, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Fine. Yeah. For the LP or the QP?
For the LP.
Yes, I got points for that.
I don't know what it's working for me, and I'm not getting a point.
Is it find position or the find?
Just straight up find.
Yeah, you should get a point for that.
So like, I'm trying to figure out if I'm missing something, but like logically, I'm like finding an index. If that index is NPOS, I'm throwing a table full exception. If the data at that index is equal to the item, then I'm returning that. Otherwise, I'm throwing a not found exception.
I actually don't throw the the full table exception. I did not throw that.
Okay, but everything else.
Everything else sounds solid.
So you're just like checking if that data is there.
Yeah, if the data at that index in the elements vector, if that data is equal to the item.
Maybe it's because you're throwing the full table exception.
Oh, wait.
Well, no, because I got points for throwing the full table exceptions.
Oh, I think maybe you have to like check if that cell is active.
Active, yeah, the state.
I checked that too. I'll check it again. But yeah, I made sure that it was active as well versus or doing it with no check. I'm just not getting points for it. It's like I'm losing my mind. Yeah. I was seeing if I was missing anything blatantly obvious.
Yeah, everything sounds good. It's just
Sounds right.
yeah, but we couldn't like just look at the code, so
Oh, I know.
I don't really know like what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted to check. I'll keep messing with it. Actually, I'm just gonna move on. I don't care that much. It's one trophy.
Yeah, you can just move on.
I was just like, I don't think I'm being stupid about this, but I feel very dumb, like I'm missing something super obvious.
Yeah. Logic just like something's not matching up with how you did it.
Yeah. I'm gonna try taking out that table full exception and see if I get points or not.
Because I don't think I used that table full exception at all.
Yeah,
Unless we're
me
supposed to
neither.
somewhere.
It's a hidden trophy if you do.
Maybe it's a hidden trophy. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, good to
Yeah.
know.
I figured that
Sure.
out, but I was like, we haven't used this, and there's like 3 places we could use it. So when you use it, you get points.
So like
It's really cool.
Wow, okay. Yeah, another thing that was weird was like when I was resizing the vector, I would like clear the old one and then resize it. Because like it would default all of them would be vacant, but I guess you're supposed to like go through one by one. Instead of
Yeah, you broke up a little bit, but yeah, I think for clear, you can like you go in and just reset. Yeah, reset them all to vacant again and set the size back to 0.
yeah, I thought it'd be faster if you just like clear it and just
I
resize it then, because then it just all default. But it's not.
I don't even know if I got trophies for clear. I don't think it's. I don't know.
Oh no, it's not clear. It's a rehash. Like I didn't.
Oh, I see.
Until I did that. For some, like, yeah. Does throwing exception automatically stop execution of the function?
It depends on like if you cache it.
I mean, like, or like if you throw exception from like your function, you're not the one catching it. That makes sense.
Yeah, I understand what I mean. So I think it depends on like whether or not it's cached by the auto
So if you
grader.
catch it, then you just continue on
Yeah,
normally.
so if it's like cached by the grader, then probably it's gonna move on.
Okay.
Okay, I gotta go, but I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
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 For those that did for plus 5, the next crime one, did you use the ceiling of the square root of the number?
For the AVL tree.
No, for plus 5, when you find the next prime number, you know how the way he says it in the specs, it says to like take the ceiling of the square root and then
Yeah.
divide that by 6 or something as for k or whatever. Is that what you do?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work for like certain.
So you have to think about the way you're calling that is you're turning it into a size t, right? But when you're calling square root, you're calling it as a float, and then you're doing division, which is going to do something naturally to a number that's non-float division or integer division. So think about what you can do in your equation there to like account for that. That's the worst explanation ever, but there's like a little trick you have to do because integer division is always going to lop it off, right?
So you just have to cast as a float or something.
Wait, which function are we talking about?
Next prime in quest 6.
Oh, quest 6.
The quadratic probing.
Oh yeah,
That was quest. I thought it was quest 5.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's in the module. You can see what.
Yeah, I followed the way they didn't do ceiling there though. They just like added 1 to it, which works.
Yeah.
I didn't use anything like that though, but yeah.
Because if you add 1 to it, it helps cover a lot of numbers.
I used I made a private helper that just checks if it's prime, and then I run it in the main one.
Yeah, I use
see.
something similar.
Yeah.
You're calculating the ceiling within your infinite loop, right?
Oh yeah. I just didn't even use the ceiling. I just added 1 to it because when I use the ceiling, it like they're like they counted 25 as like a prime number, but
Oh yeah, I also started with adding 1 to it.
Because if you do ceiling with square root 25, it's
Oh,
5 plus
Yeah,
5 divided
yeah,
by 6.
yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, that's what I did. But I just did it in a for loop.
With the ceiling.
Yeah.
yeah, you have your ceiling in the loop.
For some
And then I
reason,
just
like it did it because like if you put 25, it'll take that's 5 divided by 6, right? So point that'll be like 0. Like the loop limit will be 0 because you're kind of like lopping off
I
anything.
I remember what I
That's
But-
right, because there should be another conditional check you do that if your K is larger than your ceiling, then you do something as well. That accounts for that specific case. Because I get what you're saying, like square root of 25 is 5 plus 1 is 6. So yeah, you're left with like, you're not going to actually run the loop inside because of your initial value of your ceiling is 0. So there's another conditional check you can do, which is like
See.
often the case.
Yeah.
I got just a general question for you guys when it comes to methods of coding. When you use if statements, do you just like line up if statements one after the other and not bother to put an else, or do you usually put in the else? Is it good to put in the else?
I guess it depends if you want every condition to be checked.
Yeah, I think it's good to use the else because sometimes the compiler complains if if the error return type is not reached, which what would usually happen if you just don't have an else after an if. But depends on what you're coding, obviously. If it's like nested and stuff and you have a breaking point sometimes after, then you'll be fine. But generally speaking, if there's no other case to be considered, you just want to put else. Or like
Okay.
Yeah.
There's also, depending on your IDE, like in Visual Studio Community, there's like a pretty good flag if you're using a redundant else, and it'll just tell you to erase it, which is a good way to like learn. I don't know. I feel like I use the else if it needs to, like if it needs to do something. Otherwise, it's just like if, because it'll naturally fall through to the next thing. If
Yeah.
the else kind of means do this no matter what, versus like do this or do this or do this. Kind of just depends on the flow.
I think
Yeah.
like the problem with using too much if else statement is that if you ever have like nested if else statements, it's gonna end up having a lot of indentations, and you don't want that because that's gonna make your code very hard to read. So you probably
Yeah.
want to like do like if and then the opposite statement and then return early, rather than to do a lot of if else's.
Yeah, gotcha. Also, a different thing that he was talking about on Quest 3, it was when you're using the add to cell method, if you're adding the value to the new value and they both come out and turn out to be default, then sometimes you don't have to make a change, but other times you have to delete something out of the sparse matrix. Like I say, does that line up, or if it adds up to be default, can you just? Well, I guess if it was like a positive number and then a negative number, it could add up to be default. At which point you'd have to get rid of that node. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, you just want to like think about what you have to store in a sparse matrix data structure, and if it doesn't have to be stored, then you probably don't want to like do that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
For that, are we only checking if it's like less than that static constant, that tiny float number, because like of like random like computer roundoff errors on them? Like when we check if it's default.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, based off of what he said. It's bedtime. I think I'm going to head out. Thanks for talking, everyone.
We'll call it here.
Bye.
So we gotta go. See you
Yeah,
next
see you
week.
guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Yes, well, goodbye.